everybody, it's Mrs. Hofferberth. We are going to talk about endothermic and exothermic processes today. Okay, as we get started, we need to start with some terminology. The first thing we need to do is define what we call the system and the surroundings. This is going to be key to all of our conversations about endothermic and exothermic processes because it depends and it determines what we're focusing on. So the system is what we are actually studying. So it's the part of the universe we're interested in. And the surroundings is everything else in the universe. So it's all the other stuff that is not the system. So let's say I'm looking at a cup of coffee, and maybe I'm interested in the cup of coffee itself. That means the cup of coffee is going to be my system, and everything else around it, like the countertop or your mouth, those things are all going to be your surroundings. So your system is what it is that you're studying, and your surroundings is everything else. So let's talk about the actual words endothermic and exothermic, which are the focus of this conversation. These are talking about which way heat is being transferred between the system and the surroundings. In an endothermic process, heat is going to be transferred from the surroundings into the system. Endothermic, heat is transferred in. So for example, if I have a cold can of soda and I grab it with my hand, energy, heat is transferred from my hand into the soda. And if the soda is the system, then this is an endothermic process because heat is going into the system. If you think about it, when you're done, you have more energy than you started with because you've added extra energy. And we can show that in a little diagram by saying that the initial energy is lower than the final energy. And that endothermic process has added energy because we've added heat, which is just the transfer of energy. So that's endothermic. Energy goes in. Exothermic is the opposite. In an exothermic process, energy and heat is transferred from the system into the surroundings. So an example would be taking a bite of a hot piece of pizza. If your pizza is hot, as you take a bite, that energy is transferred from the pizza into your mouth. And so if the pizza is the system, the energy is being transferred out into the surroundings. So in an exothermic process, your initial energy is actually higher, and after you've transferred that energy, your final energy will be lower because in an exothermic process, energy is going out and you're losing it. Please notice that it's really important that you define what your system is, because whether energy is being gained or lost very much depends on the perspective that you take. If my focus in the second example for the exothermic process had been the person, then taking a bite of the pizza would have been endothermic because the energy is going into my mouth and burning the roof of my mouth. It is very much about defining your system first and then deciding whether energy is coming in, endothermic, or going out, exothermic. So make sure you take time to define your system first. So in sum, this video, you should be able to tell me what the system is and what the surroundings is. And then once you define system and surroundings, you should be able to tell me whether a process is endothermic, the system gains energy, or exothermic, where the system loses energy.